Morning, everybody. Well, we just did a pre-trip, and we're getting ready to leave in a few more minutes. Right now, I'm full of death, full of fuel. I'm thinking. Remember me complaining about the alternator and all that? I picked up a voltmeter, multi-tester, and at the batteries it's showing 14, not 8. So the alternator's working fine. I checked where this thing says that plug-in thing I was telling you about that has a voltmeter. I checked the actual voltage at that cigarette lighter plug, and it's 14.8. So that voltmeter's way off. I switched. I have a small cooler. I keep my drink, my water, and my Coke Zero in between the seats, and it was plugged in by a cigarette lighter plug that's underneath the bunk, and it generally has worked pretty good. And never had an issue. I've also had it plugged in, but the power cord was getting kind of screwed up. I thought I had a new one sitting up there, so once I get to the truck stop, I got a spot up at the Flying J at exit 10, just before Minnesota. I thought I had bought a new one as a spare to keep in here. I'm gonna have to dig around up on top to see if I can find a new one. But ever since I plugged my cooler in, because it's got an adapter on it, an inverter on it, that steps it down from house current to 12 or 14 volts. My gauge has worked. My volt gauge on my truck has worked fine. I mean, it's right where it's always been. And I even checked. I turned my air conditioning on full blast. I turned my lights on. Turned my four-ways on, and I went and used my voltmeter to check the battery. The lowest it goes is 13.8. So all that bitching I did about them. Number one is he's wrong on your operating voltage is 13.2 to 13.5. It's 13.8 to 14.1. 13.8 with all your accessories on. 14.1. 14.5. You don't want to go much over, you don't want it to be constantly at 15 volts or 16 volts, because then you're overcharging the batteries and they won't last. So 14.8 is close to 15. But also could have, the reason it's pumping so high is batteries are stated discharge when I checked it. I'll check it again once I've been running a couple of days. That way I know all the batteries are fully charged. Could have a bad battery. That's why it's having the alternator pump up to 14.8 when it should be 14.1. Found out on my gauge, 13.8 is right on the 14 mark. So when I take it in for my PM, because I'll only be out 3 weeks, so it should just put me right at PM range. I'll have them just check the batteries. 14.8, like I said, is a little on the high side. I don't want to overcharge my batteries and then they'll go bad because they'll boil off the water in there. 14.1 is about normal standard operating range. 14.5 on the top end. 14.8 starting to push it to almost 15 volts. that's a little on the high side. Although this is a 160 amp alternator, so it might push it closer to 15. I'm just going to have them check the batteries, make sure there's no bad ones, because I was in, I think it was 2 repairs ago, and they found a bad battery. So if they're starting to go, since I only replaced these batteries about a year ago, they just got a bad batch of batteries, or like I said, this that old alternator was constantly overcharging because my alternator gauge is sitting right where it always has. So that means it's been 14.8 all the time, and it just burned them out. So I'm going to just have them check the batteries. I'm going to let them know, listen, per our last conversation, I bought a multimeter. It's sitting right at 14.8. Seems a little high. It should be more like 14.1. And if it doesn't go down, like once the batteries are fully charged and I've been running a couple days, after a couple days, your battery should be all fully charged. And if it's keeping pushing 14.8, it might just be due that this thing's a 160 amp alternator, so it's going to push out closer to 15 volts. As long as I don't go over 15, I should be fine. This just means I can turn on more accessories. But I think I do have, just in the wiring for the 2 cigarette lighter plugs in my bunk. Either, like I was saying in my last video, this needs the ground. It's all clean because that's one of the only thing that I've ever had wrong with a ProStar, and the few times I've driven one for JB Hunt, is that their grounds are pretty particular, and they got so many of them. When you clean the grounds by the batteries, that's one thing, but if you don't clean the body grounds, and there's, I think, a ground for the dash computer, and I don't know where the heck it is. I mean, if I could ever get caught up more than enough where I'm not dumping money into a lot of repairs, the service manual is on a DVD, and I think it's like $500 or something like that, which is a little pricey because you used to get them. You get a service manual for a truck from the manufacturer for like $100 back in the 80s, but with inflation now going electronic, you'd think they'd be just about the same price because it doesn't cost, a DVD doesn't cost near as much as printing it and all that shit. All you're doing is paying a company to copy it. Do that, and this way I can see where the grounds are, and I can track back. Because like I said, if I plug a fan into the cigarette lighter plug that's where the microwave sits, both the light that's right in that cabinet and the light that's right by my bunk slightly glow. So that's usually power making it to ground. So the fan might have, I haven't plugged anything else into it. I have to find something else that's a cigarette lighter plug and see if those lights come on. If it isn't, then it's a short to ground on the plug of the fan, and I'll just have to cut it and replace the end. But if it does it with anything cigarette lighter plug wise, then it's in the cigarette lighter plug. Well, that's it. We are ready to go, and we'll see you in a little bit once we get rolling. Wisconsin, coming into Madison in a little bit. Well, the only thing I can think of why I was having those issues before, either that cooler must, with the plug-in to my strip, the cooler runs at 14 volts. So it must need 14 volts clean power to operate correctly, because even the LED lights that tell you that the temperature in that, when it was plugged in by the cigarette lighter plug, a lot of those didn't have enough power to even light up. So, and there must be a heck of a voltage drop across from where the cigarette lighter wires start to where they go into the junction block to get power from. So it must have been drawing pulling really heavy on the alternator in that. Because since I plugged it in with the inverter, my gauge is sitting right where it's always said. I even got my lights on. So it's either that or, like I said, this thing has 5 grounds. It can be that the ground from the body to the frame is dirty, and which I can probably, that one I can see and clean. It's just the other multiple grounds this thing has. I don't know where they're at. I can't really see them. I mean, I'm pretty good about twice a year, like probably not this PM, but my next one in like September, October, I would have them clean all my battery cables and the battery grounds and all that. So those are all clean, so I don't have any issues during the winter time. It's just my preference of PMs. I'd rather pay them the hour to clean it than have any issues during the winter due to corrosion. I should have shut my mouth. Looks like somebody's having a really bad day. Hopefully the guy is okay. Looks like something slipped over in the knee. Highway closed on both ways. And they're kind of routing you off. Coming the other way, you're royally screwed because there ain't no exit there. blocking the highway off. Or not, they're just kind of routing you up and around, giving it a wide berth. Man, I went up over the wall. Dude, that's gonna take a while to clean up that. Holy crap. Put a car all over it.
Back on it, Highway 19. You don't want to get right off here and get right back on. I do believe it's got the ramp. It's right at the end of the ramp on the northbound side. It's just across the highway. Stake 51 northbound. Cut across back on 19. So is that right up here to 131? Right at the 132. 132. Beautiful, appreciate that, driver.
I don't know how well it's showing up on video, but man, there's stuff scattered all over there. Man, Sunday's not a day to travel up and down here. There was that semi-accident before around Madison, and now they were saying on the radio an Amazon Prime truck hit the guardrail up here. There was a sign 2 miles back said right lane closed, but as usual, God forbid any of these people ever read. too thrilled with this. Also just got him rolled back up. Part of the, I'd say white bowl will mod you, but it's the red. Probably had flip-flops on and his foot up on the dash and texting with his other hand. Alright, we are almost
in
at
1
our
3/4 miles, take exit 10 on the right to Wisconsin 65 north, then keep right.
For the weekend, or for tonight. We'll be about 54 miles from our delivery. Didn't want to do the TA and Roberts because that thing sucks.
Keep right to Wisconsin 65 north, then take the first left.
Actually, I'm trying to think if I've ever been to this one. Can't say as I have.
Turn left at the traffic light.
In 150 feet at the traffic circle, take the second exit onto the I-94 West ramp to Hudson. Exit the traffic circle onto the ramp. Continue on Wisconsin 65 north for 1 mile.
Now it'll be interesting to see where they've got their prime spot set up.
In 400 feet, arrive at Flying J.
Continue for 3/4 of a mile.
Yeah, might actually be advantageous.
Please drive to highlighted route.
Looks like it's that way, so. Try a blind side.
Turn right on 70th Avenue, then take the second right.
Ain't this special? Well, it doesn't say
800 feet, turn right onto 70th
that
Avenue.
this spot is a handicap spot. And yeah, a lot easier to get out of. There we go. All right. We will see you in the morning. See what idiot parks right here. And we'll finish this off and do our delivery.